Buddhism's not teaching us that we can live without feeling pain at all. Buddhism is very clear that life includes sadness and sorrow and pain. The Dalai Lama, who's considered by many to be a living reincarnation of the Buddha, talks openly about how he feels when he reads a newspaper and he sees people and he sees about the hunger and the starvation and the abuse and the ills of the world. He feels a great sadness inside. That's not the point. The point of Buddhism is not to live aloof from our emotions and totally detached, floating above the earth. That's not to live life. That's not to feel life and love and all of it. However, Buddha realized that on top of our normal pain and sadness, we add so much, a whole bunch of extra suffering that is of our own making. And it's that unnecessary, personally made suffering that Buddha has taught we can let go. So I want you to beware of any spiritual teacher who tells you that you can always be happy or that you can avoid life's sorrows. Just like being aware of anyone who tells you you can invest their money with them and they can guarantee a return in profits. That's not the point. That's not life. That's not living. That's not reality. It's the suffering that we bring upon ourselves by our mixed up ways of looking at this life and the mixed up ways of looking at this world. That's the part that Buddha says he can help us with. And so he taught teachings and techniques to help us to avoid self-created suffering and anguish. For example, when someone dies, typically we feel great sadness for that loss because we won't have that person in our lives anymore, at least not physically in our lives anymore. Now, there's no way out of that sadness except through that sadness. However, all the additional suffering that we put on top of our sorrow from our false and misleading views of the world and of life, it's these false views that create so much suffering. It's views like, it's not supposed to happen like this. Well, who said it's not supposed to happen like this? It happens all the time like this. Parents aren't supposed to outlive their children. Who said? Happens all the time. All the time. We might think these things happen to other people's families, not mine. That doesn't make much sense when you think about it. We assume that when we go to sleep that we're going to wake up. We assume that when somebody leaves the house that they're going to come home. Now these assumptions are problematic in part because they're assumptions, they're not real. But more importantly, it's because it causes us to take for granted the people in our lives because we just assume they'll be there all the time, and yet we never know. And so the Buddha is teaching us to pay attention, to wake up, to look and listen and appreciate every moment in our lives. So tragedies, losses occur. We're totally unprepared because we've been fooling ourselves about our lives and life in general for so long, making up all kinds of schemes, so that we feel that we may have not kissed a particular joy as it flew by, and we regret now that it's gone forever, and then we hold on to the regret. And we don't let go of that. We can't forgive ourselves, and we can't forgive others, and we hang on to that. We need to keep in mind that every change is a kind of a death. It's a moment when something changes, it's no longer what it was, and it never will be again. So every change is a small death. And each day is filled with many changes. Clothes get stained, houses burn down, people move, the stock market crashes, people of all ages and stages of life die. This is the reality of being alive. It's incredibly fierce and amazingly beautiful. And that's the world we live in. And there's no reason to make something up and to not live right here, right now, in the real world that exists all around us. This is the reality of being alive. We have so many ways of not accepting it. So many illusions and false expectations and senses of entitlement about life that when something does happen, not only do we feel sad, we feel cheated, we feel wronged, as if it could have been different, it should have been different. If we're not careful, our own minds can create for us right on this life a living hell. Buddhism teaches us to wake up. Be fully present in every moment, because the present moment is the only thing that's real. Everything from the past is just a dream-like memory. And everything in the future is a dream-like fantasy. The only thing that's real is this moment, right now. Every moment. In Japan, they say, ichigo, ichi-e. It means one time, one chance. Every moment in life is a one-time, one-chance experience. We could come back here next week. We could all dress in the same clothes. We could sing the same songs. I could say the same words, but it would be different. It cannot be the same. Every moment in life is a one-time, one-chance opportunity. Ichigo, ichi-e. And one way that the Buddha said that we can live in the moment is that he says we need to cultivate the child's mind. Of course, Jesus says of children, it is of such as these that the kingdom of heaven belongs. From a Buddhist perspective, a child sees the world with fresh eyes. Small children are often engrossed in each moment, taking in the world without judgment, without expectation. And since a children's mind isn't filled with all these theories and prejudices and resentments, they take things as they are, in the moment. But the longer we live, the more we fill our minds with all kinds of thoughts and attitudes that lead us to all kinds of unnecessary anguish. By the time we're grown up, we come to worry about the future. We hold on to regrets. We hold on to happy memories and want to try to relive it, make it happen again. We learn to expect certain things, and when our expectations don't come true, we suffer. That's why the Buddha used the phrase, cultivate the child's mind. Cultivate a child's mind. And that's what Jesus meant, they tell me, when he said the kingdom of heaven belongs to the little children. Jesus talked about the kingdom of heaven being at hand in his lifetime, in our lifetime. He was not talking about some future time of earthly perfection. He was saying that the kingdom of heaven is available to us right now in every moment. For the Buddhist, it's a state of mind which each of us can access anytime. In fact, it's our true nature. So I came to understand that the kingdom of heaven is not a circumstance that will come into existence through some cosmic miracle, but rather the kingdom of heaven is a state of mind that is here now if we learn to see it and to be it. In fact, through the eyes of the Buddha, the kingdom of heaven is our true essence. Just like a tree in the wintertime. It may not be apparent that inside there is so much miraculous potential. But if we know what our lives are truly about, and we're not afraid to be honest about it, then we know that all it takes is the right conditions for us to blossom. Spiritual practice, whether it's meditation or prayer or tai chi or yoga or singing or something else, is meant to be the rain and the sunshine that create the conditions for us to bloom. The Buddhists gave me more than just new interpretations to replace the old ones. They gave me new eyes through which to look at the world. Are you creating the conditions in your life for you to blossom in love, in substance, in beauty, in hope, in goodness? Because it's time to wake up, because the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Amen.